Have you ever looked into a mirror and felt like the reflection staring back at you wasn't really you? Like that still gaze is watching you, but there's something dark and alive behind those eyes. Imagine waking up trapped in a room surrounded by broken mirrors that don't just reflect your image, they twist who you are. A prison made of glass and shadow where every reflection hides a darker secret than the last. That's exactly how I woke up, locked inside this strange room with only my pounding heart breaking the silence. Every surface, walls, ceiling, floor, was covered in shattered mirrors, scattering pieces of me everywhere. But something was wrong. My reflections didn't move like I did. Some smiled on their own. Others whispered words I couldn't understand. And one, the most twisted, looked like it wanted to tear through the glass and drag me into an invisible abyss. Have you ever wondered what would happen if the versions of yourself in the mirror started coming to life? If those familiar faces were actually creatures wanting to take your place? Today, I'm going to tell you how I got trapped in that cursed house, searching for my missing sister, and how I found out some reflections hide horrors you can never erase. Get ready to step inside the House of Broken Mirrors. If you're brave enough, stay with me till the end and tell me, what's your biggest fear when facing your own reflection? Welcome to Nightboune Fear, where shadows speak and fear becomes real. If you like feeling that chill run down your spine, you already know this is your refuge in the dark. I always knew that house was different. Not from rumors or town whispers. Nobody spoke openly about what happened there. It was like silence itself was a pact, a veil no one dared lift. But for me, that house was my last hope. My sister, Anna, went missing 3 weeks ago. No signs, no clues, like she'd just vanished into thin air. The police found nothing, and her house, where we'd spent holidays together, stayed locked tight. I had to get in. I had to know what happened. I reached the rusty gate as the sun was setting. The air was too cold for the season, and a thin fog wrapped the grounds, like the house was exhaling decay. The windows, old and dusty, caught the last light, but there was no sign of life, no sound, no movement. If just imagining this house sends chills down your spine, hit that like button and help Nightboune Fear grow, bringing more stories for those brave enough to listen. I pushed the door hard. It creaked, resisted, but gave way. Inside, the smell hit me. Damp mold mixed with something heavier, metallic, strange. Every step echoed down an endless corridor lined with mirrors, cracked panels hanging crooked, multiplying my distorted image. I felt watched, not by human eyes, but by those living in the glass. In one mirror, I saw my face twice, but when I looked again, that reflection smiled just before I did, a smile that wasn't mine. The house had a story, an origin no one liked to talk about. They said some old collector of mystical objects lived there, obsessed with trapping souls in reflections. Over time, the house became a maze of cursed glass, each mirror a prison for a lost piece of someone. I wasn't sure if I believed those stories, but everything in that place screamed wrong. Something alive, hungry. I forced myself to keep focus, walked to the back room where Anna used to stay. The door was locked, but I had the key. When I opened it, the room looked empty, but the walls weren't wood or paint. They were mirrors. Broken mirrors, covering everything,
reflecting my image in shards. The air turned icy, and a barely audible whisper moved through the room, like the mirrors waking up. That's when I woke up. It wasn't a dream anymore. I was trapped. The room had turned into a prison of glass and shadows. The mirrors didn't just show my face. They showed twisted versions of me, some with empty eyes, others with mouths whispering words in a forgotten tongue. The hallway lights vanished, and I realized there was nowhere left to go. This was the start of my nightmare. If you haven't subscribed to Nightboune Fear yet, do it now. Here, only those who face the dark know the true face of fear. Don't be left behind.
The first thing I noticed was the silence in that room wasn't natural. Not the kind you get in an empty house or a still, windless night. It was a silence that waited, heavy with tension you could almost touch. Every tiny move I made echoed like footsteps that weren't mine, and the air vibrated with some energy I couldn't explain. My eyes locked onto the mirrored walls. At first, everything seemed normal. Me, reflected in pieces, fragments scattered everywhere. But then I saw something impossible. One reflection wasn't matching my movements. Its eyes glowed cold and lifeless. It didn't blink when I did. Then it smiled, a crooked, cruel smile, and I felt fear spike inside me. Cold crept into my bones like the air was sucking all my strength out. An invisible weight pinned me down to the cold floor. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. The silence swallowed me whole. As time stretched on, the reflections began moving on their own, breaking every rule I knew about mirrors. They stepped away from the walls, eyes locked on me like creatures desperate to escape their glass prison. One even reached out, and for a moment, I swear, I felt a freezing touch through the cold surface. If your heart is pounding already, don't forget to smash that sinister like button and keep the flame of Nightboune Fear burning. I started pacing the room, desperate to find a way out. But the more I moved, the more the space twisted. Doors I thought should be there vanished, dissolving into the mirrored walls. No windows. The only light was a faint glow coming from the mirrors themselves. The smell changed too. Now it was metallic, like old blood mixed with rot. It made me want to puke. Then came the whispers. Low voices in a language I couldn't understand, coming from every direction. Sometimes I swore I heard my own name, but never friendly. A cold, threatening call. My mind started to crack. I couldn't tell if I was seeing things or losing it in the fear and confinement. Every reflection was a part of me I didn't want to face. Twisted versions showing my darkest secrets and failures, pointing at scars I tried to hide. Amid the chaos, flashes of memory popped up. Anna laughing in that old house, but also fights, long silences heavier than words. Maybe the house didn't just hold mirrors. It held the broken pieces of our family story. I tried to scream for help, but my voice was swallowed by fear. The pull to fall into the reflections grew stronger by the second. I knew if I didn't find a way out, they'd swallow me whole. Time bent like it was caught in an endless loop inside that room. Images multiplied, voices grew louder, shadows thickened. I was alone, but surrounded by versions of me that refused to let go. If you're still here, standing strong, make sure to subscribe to Nightboune Fear for more sanity-shattering stories that make you see the dark differently. As I fought the darkness and the reflections that seemed ready to devour me, something inside that glass maze finally showed itself. A clearer whisper amid the distorted echoes. My eyes landed on the central mirror, the biggest, oldest one, where the broken pieces formed a living, pulsing image. It wasn't just a mirror, it was a prison. And inside that shimmering, warped surface, I saw a face. Anna's face. Her eyes were hollow, empty. Her mouth moved, trying to speak words that couldn't reach me, like her soul was trapped, begging for help in a dimension impossible to reach. The truth hit me hard. That house wasn't just a place of memories and fear. It was a cage. Some unknown entity, hungry for identity and essence, had trapped Anna and countless others over the years, sealing them inside reflections where time and space twisted. This entity didn't feed on flesh or blood. It fed on essence, the soul, the thing that made each person unique. And to free Anna, I had to destroy that mirror. But that came with a cruel price. Breaking the prison might kill the soul trapped inside. The thought terrified me, but I couldn't give up. Anna was my sister, my blood. I had to choose, save her or save her. As I wrestled with that choice, the twisted versions of me closed in around the mirror. They wanted to stop me, to make me give in to despair, to accept the prison as fate. Each reflection was a piece of me I refused to face. Fears, doubts, dark secrets. They moved like shadows, whispering lies, trying to break my mind. You're not strong enough. They're part of you, and you can't escape. Accept your fate. If this story's got you breathless, don't forget to leave a like here at Nightboune Fear and help spread the fear only we know how to tell. But a voice inside me fought back, a spark refusing to be swallowed by despair. And in that moment, I realized this battle wasn't just to save Anna. It was to save myself, to hold on to my identity, even staring into the abyss. My heart raced as I braced for the final fight. Time froze. The whole house vibrated in a bone-deep frequency. Every shard of glass reflected not just my image, but my internal struggle, a war between light and shadow inside me. I had to make the choice that would decide both our fates. The air in the room felt too thick to breathe. Every breath was a painful effort, and time itself seemed to dissolve around me. The distorted versions of myself charged like hunters who'd been chasing me forever, eyes empty and merciless. I could hear their voices, sharp whispers tearing at my sanity. You're nothing without us. Come inside where the truth waits. Give in to the glass, the reflection, the darkness. My hands shook, but I knew I had to act. The central mirror glowed with ghostly light, pulsing like a heart that shouldn't beat. I raised my hand and threw a rock with all my strength. The glass shattered with a scream. Shards flew, cutting through the air and my skin. But nothing hurt more than the feeling that a part of me was being torn apart. The mirror's light exploded in blinding flashes, and the whole room trembled. My reflections recoiled, howling in silent agony as the house crumbled. Walls cracked, the ceiling broke apart, and the floor split open like it was swallowing the world. For a moment, a cold hand grabbed my wrist, the touch of the most twisted reflection, the one that had been smiling cruelly from the start. I fought, pulling away, but it tried to drag me into that broken dimension. If you're holding your breath through this fight, don't forget to drop a like on Nightboune Fear and share this video with those brave enough to face real terror. With one last effort, I broke free, stumbling back as the mirror cracked completely. The light died and silence fell like a heavy curtain. I was free. Or at least that's what I wanted to believe. The ruined house began fading like a mirage. I ran to the door, now solid, real. When I stepped out, the cool night air hit me like salvation. But something was wrong. My reflection on my phone trembled. It wasn't me. It was her, the version trapped inside that glass prison, staring at me with eyes full of desperation and pleading. I could almost hear her whisper, "Don't let them come for me." I was free, but a piece of me stayed behind, trapped forever. I left the house, but the chill wasn't just from the night air. It was the weight of what I left behind. A piece of me locked inside that broken mirror, watching, waiting. I wanted to believe I'd won, that the nightmare was over. But as I walked down the empty street, my phone's reflection moved on its own again. It wasn't my smile, it wasn't my eyes. It was her, the shadow left behind, the version of me that never escaped. My heart raced. I didn't know if it was fear, guilt, or both. Then I understood. The house wasn't just a place or a simple glass prison. It was a living entity that never lets its prey go. It holds souls, yes, but it also leaves a trace, a doorway between worlds, a passage that can open any time. Was that shadow following me the beginning of the end, or a promise that the real horror was just starting? Have you ever looked at your reflection and felt it wasn't really you? That maybe something else was waiting inside? If I could turn back time, I wouldn't have gone into that house. But what's done can't be undone. And now, the question I leave for you, who's made it this far with courage. If your reflection started living its own life one day, what would you do to take back what's yours? If you had the guts to listen to this story till the end, subscribe to Nightboune Fear and share with those who dare to face the darkest side of reality. Here, fear is just the beginning.